bad decisions or not, is this start of the season really good enough for Manchester United?
New players, new backroom staff, new style, but unless a new Manchester United emerges from all of that, Erik Ten Hag knows that before long there will be a new Manchester United manager.
I think he's going to have a hard season. To me, he's a dead man walking.
João Pedro has scored, Manchester United are beaten, and Brighton once more are sending them packing.
11 minutes into the second half, it's Manchester United 0, Liverpool 3.
I just don't know what he's doing. I can't understand his tactics.
10-man Manchester United 0, Tottenham 3.
We have to keep working on our structures, but also work on the mentality.
Eric, you mentioned mentality a couple of times there. Is there a concern?
I don't think I didn't mention one time mentality.
You literally just said mentality.
As it stands in the Europa League table, 3 points from 3 games will leave Manchester United in 21st.
I would rather Mourinho as managing Man United right now than Erik Ten Hag, if I was a United fan.
It's joy unconfined for West Ham fans. They've gone above Manchester United.
There shouldn't have been a penalty in my opinion. However, we were 3-4-0 up. It wouldn't have mattered in my eyes. Ten Hag needs to go. If this was Fergie, he would have been gone. We've done worse for Moyes.
Manchester United 14th in the Premier League table. Erik Ten Hag, unsurprisingly, not best pleased by VAR's call to give West Ham a 92nd minute match-winning penalty, which meant they went away with nothing to show for all their domination in the first half. 03717 223344. Let's take your calls now. George is a United fan. Morning, George.
Morning, George.
Morning, Mark. You okay?
Yeah, good. What have you got to say, George?
I just think it's time for Ten Hag to go now. I think he's been here 3 years. I know he's won the Carabao Cup and the FA Cup, but 14th in the league, and I don't know where we are in the Europa League. It's embarrassing at the minute. Like you saying about the penalty, we was terrible all game. Like I know we had big chances, but we wasn't good enough, and it's time to go, I reckon.
Okay.
I agree with you. If you're a manager, I've said this so long. If you have 3 years and you spend 600 million and you get sacked because you're 14th in the league and you're one of the biggest clubs in the world, then you've got no argument.
Thank you very much indeed for the call, George. Let's take another one. Good morning to Max, who's a United fan. Morning, Max.
Morning, Max.
Morning, lads. Firstly, big shout out, Jeff and Dean. Big fans, mate.
Thank you, mate.
Thanks.
Where do I start? Just to sum it up, really, I think United, we should have finished the game in the first half. In the first couple of minutes, to be fair, they should have, been finishing at all angles. I don't just blame Ten Hag now. I think previously I spoke to Gabby, and I was irate with the kid. I think he needs to go. I think the team needs to go. We're selling our gems like McTominay. He's looking like the Maradona in Napoli, mate. We ain't doing anything, and it's just upsetting now.
Did he sell McTominay because? Sorry, did he sell McTominay because of the PFI rules, or did he sell him because he didn't want him? I can't remember what the situation was, because he's a trier, isn't he?
Yeah, he was trying to say PFA and all that financial fair play, but we got rid of him for a guy that just runs around. Fair enough, Ugarte can put in a tackle, but you know what? We're 7 points from relegation. Who in their right mind would think that you talk about United being in the relegation battle potentially this year? If we keep Ten Hag, that's it. It's finished, boys.
Max, I'm going to make a brave prediction here. Regardless of who is in charge at Manchester United, you are not going to be in a relegation battle. Thanks, Max. Thank you for the call. Let's bring in the former England defender and talkSPORT's Manchester City or Manchester correspondent, I beg your pardon, Mickey Gray. Morning, Mickey.
Morning, Mickey.
Jeff, morning, Dino. How are you doing?
Very good. Yeah. How are you?
Look, I tell you
good,
what,
mate, good,
Mickey,
thanks.
when we talk about Erik Ten Hag, and inevitably there's pressure cranked up on him today, I wonder how big the Carabao Cup game against Leicester is in midweek, because all the talk is always about, well, Ten Hag wins trophies. If United were to go out against Leicester, would that make his position almost untenable?
Well, Jeff, it was big for him in the Carabao Cup. Was big for Erik Ten Hag in his first season at Man United. The FA Cup game was big for Erik Ten Hag in his second season at Manchester United. I think everybody's now starting to look at where they are in the Premier League table. And look, I totally agree with you. I mean, they're not going to get relegated, but they finished 8th last season. And he talks about progression a lot. Well, there's no progression in the Premier League. They've lost, 4 games in the Premier League already. I think they lost more than double figures in the Premier League last season. To go and win the Premier League or to get yourself into the top 4, you can't lose any more than 5 games. We're 9 games into the Premier League season. So obviously it's a concern. And I think people are starting to look at and still asking the question of what style Manchester United are playing. Look, they got a bit of bad luck yesterday with the penalty decision. I think everybody knows, apart from Michael Oliver and David Coote, that it wasn't a penalty. It was just a ridiculous decision. But the big concern is they're creating opportunities, Manchester United, but they're not putting the ball in the back of the net and they're not going on to win football games. And I think everybody knew in the summer that they needed a striker who's going to get you 20 goals a season. And they missed out on those strikers. Ivan Toney went across to play in Saudi Arabia. There was other players available. They didn't go and replace or bring in a centre forward who's going to get those goals for you. And I just don't see things changing on a weekly basis for Manchester United. Yes, I think they'll win games. Of course they will. But they need consistency and they need to be pushing towards that top 4. And they're miles away at the moment.
Mick, I don't know what you think, right? But if you stand back and look from a distance, for a start, number one, you're not allowed to be 14th, Man United, after 9 games. As a manager, you're not allowed to be 14th in the league, no matter what. Then he spent 600 million. He's had 3 years to put the team right. He signed, I've got a list here of 9 players, going from Anthony, 85 million. Surely he's done well to survive this long. And I don't like hammering managers, but I don't think he's got a leg to stand on.
Well, you can name the players, Dean, and I think the problem is, I think Erik ten Hag's obviously looked down at the Dutch league. He's brought in a lot of Dutch players, hasn't he? And he's hoped that they would work in a Manchester United shirt. Well, I think, if you look around at those players, none of them have worked. I think their recruitment in the summer was pretty decent, to be fair. I mean, people might look at Xerxes and think, is he the right player for Manchester United? I know why they're trying to bring in these younger players. But the problem is these young players should be getting bedded into Manchester United's first team. They're not. They're being thrown in at the deep end and they're being asked a question every single week to go and score goals for Man United. Well, they're not ready for that yet. It's very difficult to come to the Premier League and just, hit the ground running. The younger players from last season, if you look at, you've got Garnacho, who's probably Man United's best player at the moment. He looks lively. Rasmus Højlund, he doesn't look like he's going to score every single week. I think he's going to improve as time goes on. But the big concern is, the players that have walked through the door for the amount of money that you just said that he spent there, Dean, they're not pulling up trees. They're not making the difference.
In a normal world, if you lost your company £1 million as a worker, you get sacked. 85 million for Anthony. I know we all make mistakes in the transfer market, but that's a sacking offence in itself.
Yeah. The guy just on before me that was talking about Scott McTominay, and it was the reason, Dean. It was FFP. That was why he had to leave the club. Now, Scott McTominay's got Manchester United at heart. Whether you loved Scott McTominay or whether you hated Scott McTominay, he worked his socks off. You know exactly what you were going to get, whether he had a good or a bad performance. And those are the type of players that Manchester United need right now because they're all finding it so difficult. And you just don't know when it's going to change. I think it's Chelsea next. I think they've got Leicester in the Carabao Cup. If they don't win those games and we're coming up to another international break, you just wonder whether it's going to be time for Erik ten Hag to move on.
Mickey, got to stop you there. Thank you very much indeed. Have a good day.
Thanks, guys.
Cheers, Mick.
Ben, who's a Villa fan, says, I say this every time Manchester United are discussed. They are exactly where they deserve to be. Average players, outdated structures, false sense of entitlement. History only extends to your last result. P.S. Hands off Emery. Coming up, it's time to get Dino's Diamonds from the weekend. That's next.
talkSPORT Breakfast, waking you up Monday to Friday morning from 6 a.m. on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.